All right, welcome. Thank you for coming. Again, my name is Chris DeBone, and I'm the co-founders of Hawaii Energy Connection. A lot of people know us by our brand name, Kumukit. So we started this back in 2007, right at the beginning of the big solar boom that started off into those years. And we want to humbly educate today, talk about some technologies and how this all works. So Kumukit, the Kumu in Kumukit actually comes from the definition of education, right? A kumuhula, trying to help teach something. We want to teach energy, how you can save money on your electric bill. So to kick this off, a lot of this is batteries. There's a lot, if you go around all the solar contractors today, you'll probably see every one of them has a battery in their booth. Before it was solar, different types between microinverters and string inverters. Well, now it's all about batteries. And let's talk about it, but before we go into why you want or need a battery, what is a battery? So stepping through this, a battery has two main components. One of them are the battery cells themselves, the actual batteries of that device. And then there's a power inverter. Batteries are DC electricity. The things inside your home are AC electricity. It has to be converted from DC to AC power. So inside of an AC coupled battery, you have an inverter housed with the battery cells. A good analogy on this, I think of, is a bucket. That bucket represents the battery cells. It's how much energy you can store. You think about water, the size of the bucket. The next component is the inverter. How much power or how much water can you bring in and out of that bucket? A bigger valve will empty the bucket faster. A smaller valve will empty it slower. So this is the same theory when you're breaking down a battery that's installed on a home. In our terms, and everyone should know what a kilowatt hour is, for the sole purposes, that's how you buy electricity on your electric bill. Every month you get that electric bill and you are getting billed for a kilowatt hour of electricity. The kilowatt hour is the bucket side of it, how much energy you used. The kilowatt over on the right, or kW, is the amount of power that you used, how much you used at any one time. For example, if you had 10 100-watt light bulbs and you turn them all on, that's 1,000 watts of power. 10 times 100. It's 1 kilowatt. If you had that 1 kilowatt and you flipped that light on for a period of 1 hour, what would that be? What would you be billed? Anyone other than that guy in the back? Anyone? 1 kilowatt on for 1 hour is equal to 1 kilowatt hour? Correct. We actually got something. So, if you leave 1,000 watts on, which is 1 kilowatt, for a period of 1 hour, you're going to get billed 1 kilowatt hour. This man right here. We got something for you, sir. Yeah. So, what can a home battery do for me? Why are they on all of these booths around? Number one, it can help you save money on your electric bill. It's called solar self-consumption. We just talked about 1 kilowatt hour of energy usage. Today, on Oahu, that will cost you about 43 cents for every time that meter spins around and one of those digits goes up. We're buying power at 1 kilowatt hour, about 43 cents. By far the highest in the nation. We have a sad house over there. He's not happy. $300, $400, $500, $600 electric bill. Now they'll go solar. Now we have a happy house. That house is like, hey, I'm making my own electricity, man. I'm buying less from the utility. That's how it was under net metering. It didn't matter. Because when you exported power back to the grid, you got the same credit as what you were buying it at. Today, in the newer tariffs or programs, it's a reduced rate. So now, when you export power back to the grid, let's say you have solar on your home, and you're here. It's a nice sunny day, no one's at your house, and your meter's spinning backwards. You're exporting power and actually only receiving 13.5 cents credit. You're buying at 43 and getting credit for only 13. Not a happy house now again. Let's install a battery. Instead of exporting that power back out to the grid, why don't we take that and put it into the battery? Once it's in the battery, we're storing all of that power. Now we're taking that 43-cent power, storing it in the battery, and then putting it back in the home at night. Now you're not exporting that power at 13 cents, you're storing it and offsetting 43-cent power at night. This is the number one reason why batteries are being sold in Hawaii. It's like a piggy bank to store all that excess solar, put it back in the house. It increases the ROI in your system now. That's a pretty good icon of recycling that solar energy. Number two, yes, question. That's what I'm just about to talk about. She asked if that was a backup battery we're talking about. The first reason why people come to solar contractors about battery is typically saving money on their electric bill because they know they're going to export at such a low rate. What's been happening as battery technology has increased, backup power is now, at first was a cool little feature, well now it's becoming another reason people are getting batteries. So the number two reason people are purchasing batteries are because it can have clean backup emergency power if there's a grid outage. So let's say something happened and the utility was not there. Some sort of event happened and there was a power outage. You've lost power. And in fact, the solar panels on your roof, even on a bright sunny day, are also not making electricity. A lot of people think that they turn on, they don't. Everything's dark. But if you had a battery backup system, that battery will then, called microgridding or island itself, disconnect you from the grid temporarily, and it will trick the solar panels thinking the grid's back up, and it will turn them on, and now you've created a little microgrid, and now you can back up portions of your home. So that is the emergency backup portion. Those are starting to be blended. Now people are wanting them for both of those reasons. Saving on your electric bill and emergency backup. Another reason, well there's two, weather events, but what's happening lately, which is a little concerning, is there's been rolling blackouts starting to happen on the islands. And that's because there's not enough peak capacity as they're shutting down the fossil fuel generators. This is a real thing for the citizens of Hawaii that we are trying to figure out. So they've already alerted sections of the island when there's not enough forecasted energy, they will actually shut down portions of the island in rolling blackouts for all of us to do that. So now those people in those affected areas, and that's a real screenshot of a rolling blackout that had happened, everyone's calling, oh, I want a battery backup, battery backup, battery backup. All the stuff in my fridge got spoiled, all of those things. So this is becoming a bigger thing on the top of mind now for emergency backup. So we learned about self-consumption to save money on your electric bill by recycling that solar, and also using the battery for security. Well, it's actually a little bit of a tug and war, because you can't do both to the fullest at the same time. You can have your car parked in the garage with a full tank of gas all the time if you don't drive it. But when you drive it, your gas is going to go down. So what people typically do is say, hey, and you never want to run your car out of gas, so you want to leave a little bit of reserve in there. You use the car for transportation, then use the gas. With a battery on homes, you're using the battery for self-consumption. You're filling it up every day, and at night, you're draining it down, down, down to put it back in your home to save on your electric bill. If it goes all the way down to zero and there was a grid outage, you have nothing, your battery isn't good. It's empty until the next day for it to fill back up when the sun comes out. So how do you balance those two? There's battery systems out there that have very unique ways of you, the user, can set how much reserve you want in the battery and let it do self-consumption, but leave some left in that battery tank. Most people do around 20% reserve. So you just leave 20% in the battery for resiliency and use 80% of it every day to help save on your electric bill. So that's one way of doing it. And you can set it manually. If you know a storm's coming, you get alerted on your phone, you go there and set it to however you want. Just understand you're giving up maybe some savings during that time because you're exporting more as the battery gets full. There's also smarts, and there's various batteries out here, and they're all calling them a little bit different name, but you turn on, let's say in this case it's Storm Hedge, and it will automatically, if it tells that there is a impending storm coming and there's a warning in your area, it will, on its own, take it out of self-consumption, fill the battery all the way up to 100%, hold it there until the warning goes away, and then it will go back into how you had it programmed before, all on its own. Sometimes it's a little tricky because we've had customers turn this on that live in Honolulu, and the battery went into this emergency mode because there was a high surf warning on the North Shore. It didn't know the difference. A warning is a warning. So they're still working out some of the kinks on this, I guess, but it's getting better and better as we go. There's a new battery system we'd like to introduce that just coming out to the market, the Franklin A-Power 2, and you're seeing battery technology changing. It's coming up. These new batteries are up to 10 kilowatts, 10,000 watts of power, like we were talking about before, in one battery. 15 kilowatt hours, that's the size of the bucket. It's a pretty big bucket. And now up to 15-year warranties. That's pretty substantial. So battery technology, warranties, confidence, how they work have definitely matured over the years. Going into a couple of things that is what's popular in Hawaii right now on the solar side. How many here have net metering? Or how many here doesn't have solar? Anyone does not have solar? And then are there some here with net metering, with solar? any other programs like CGS or CGS Plus. There's like 7 different programs in Hawaii. They've all been consolidated into one new one. But there's such a history in Hawaii, there's actually now programs for all the different tariffs, new or old, net metering, CGS, CGS Plus, self-supply, or not even installed yet on the new systems. And what's becoming popular amongst the solar contractors in here are upgrades of existing systems. The solar panels, when we all first started back before 2000, around 2000s, was 170 watt panels or so. They're 430 watt panels now. It's changed. So people are re-roofing and just replacing the panels. You can expand your existing system. You already have a PV system, and it's like, okay, I want to expand it, but I want to stay in the rules so I don't get kicked out of my program with the utility. There's possibilities there. You can add a battery to an existing PV system that you have, or transition to some of the legacy programs into the newer programs that may actually benefit you. So you can actually take your existing PV system and move it into a new program. If you have net metering, you do not want to transition that one. That's the best thing you can get. That's a very, very popular program, and you do not want to change that. Or a new system. So going through these slides pretty quick. Upgrade. Like I said, people that bought 200 watt panels, they're re-roofing. Perfect time. There's a cost to take those panels off, get the roofer to come in, and labor cost to put those systems back on the roof. We've done math on systems, and other contractors can do this too, and say, if you take that old system off and put a brand new, higher wattage system, higher wattage inverters, you can get another tax credit on it. And it's still up to 65% tax credits. The net cost of your system could equal to the labor it was to just take your old system off and put your old system back on, so you're getting a brand new system for the same price. I was like, well, why wouldn't I do that? Becoming very, very popular. The industry calls them repowers. 2, expand your system. So you already have an existing legacy system. Under each of the existing programs, there are ways to expand your system and keep your interconnection agreement with the utility. That's very important to not jeopardize, because if you ever go to sell your home and you have solar panels that aren't connected, not permitted, or not with the utility, there's going to be problems. Somebody has to go over there and reset your system. We actually have Fred over here, Fred Brooks, and he does this a lot, going over there and fixes systems that are just maybe legacy systems or broke from another contractor that went out of business, and a whole bunch of things. But you can expand an existing system. Add a battery. We talked about that. Right? Some of the benefits of why you would want to add a battery. Or early transition to the new programs. If you've just installed within the last 5 years, you are probably not under net metering. You're in one of the other programs. The new program may be beneficial for you to transition in, because you get more credit on the new one, only a couple pennies, but at least it's in the right direction, and at that time you can expand the PV system and add a battery for further savings. Or new. 430 watt panels nowadays, high efficiency microinverters, backup. The power in these batteries now, you can get a partial home backup, maybe a panel in your house with one battery now, which before you had to get multiple batteries to build up enough power to do this. They're on that verge now where you can get one battery that can back up let's say the circuit that's connected to your kitchen for your refrigerator, lights, fans, so you can plug in your phone in a grid outage. So it's partial home backup with one battery. If you want whole home backup, the whole thing, it's probably going to be multiple batteries so you have enough power so it doesn't trip off because it's too much power draw. But to do partial home backup with one battery, it's pretty good. So these are some suggestions that we have depending on what tariff program you're under. NEM is net energy metering, CGS is customer grid supply, CGS Plus is a successor CGS of customer grid supply plus, and the new one is smart DER. Under each of these categories, these are some of the options that we suggest can be done if you're under any one of those categories. All of these options are available for you, and most contractors understand how to do that without jeopardizing your connection with the utility. There was, and I blew through it a little bit sooner, there was a little asterisk on the beginning of these slides. That's the exceptions to be covered later. There's a couple, when you talk about upgrading a PV system, and you go to a solar contractor, there's something called AC versus DC coupling. And it depends on how the solar and the battery is connected behind one inverter or multiple individual inverters in parallel. And the reason we bring that up, if you have a single, call it string inverter, with one big inverter and not microinverters, and you want to just add more solar panels to it, because you need more solar panels, and you only install panels, that does not qualify for a tax credit, because it doesn't meet the condition of a solar system that generates power from DC into usable AC power into a home. On AC coupled systems, each panel would have an individual microinverter. When you add those, it converts from DC to AC and then qualifies for tax credits. So it depends on it. It's just a caveat that we want to talk about. If you have any questions, come see us, because it can get technical, but we want to educate people on that. Number two, lease versus ownership. If you lease a PV system, you do not own it. It's not up to you to upgrade. It's up to them to upgrade. So you just got to make sure that if you want to add on to an existing system, modify or upgrade an existing system, if it's a lease or you purchased a home with a lease, you may have issues because you're not the economic owner of that PV system. It's a third party that owns that system. Tax credits. So you notice in 2020, 21, 22, the solar tax credits went back down on the federal side. The Biden administration bumped them back up. We have a new administration coming in office. We don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of speculation. Are solar tax credits on the federal side going to go back down again, get modified? We don't know. Right now, they're the same. There's a lot of anxiety, let's say, in the industry of not knowing what's going to happen on the federal side. The state legislature in Hawaii is just getting together, and every year they talk about modifying the state tax credit. We need to save money for other areas. Let's take it from the tax credit and reduce it. Right now, so far this year, the state and federal is as high as they've ever been. 35% state, 30% federal. Again, there's anxiety if that will change. If you get a system, start that process, get them in before the change, you're protected. So there's a lot of push to say, man, if I'm really thinking about getting solar, I might want to do it now. There's a lot of anxiety of these tax credits. And these are tax credits, not a deduction. When you go to pay your taxes and you owe $10,000, but you bought a PV system, that tax credit goes dollar for dollar against your taxes owed. Doesn't reduce your income that gets taxed, it's a credit against taxes. If you had an auto deduction out of your paycheck and at the end of the year, say, I don't pay taxes. You do pay taxes, but it was deducted out of your paycheck. And at the end of the year, you just did it right so that at the end of the year, you didn't owe much more or less, and you had a tax credit, you can now get back the taxes that you had paid in over the year because you had a tax credit against that. So it's pretty interesting, very, very powerful incentives. Local financing. We really want to try to make as much of a sustainable process in Hawaii for renewable as possible. We'll step through, there's multiple banks out there that do this. The federal credit unions and the big banks in Hawaii have perfected these. They have loans out there that if you get approved, there's no payment and no interest for 12 months. You don't pay anything. You get approved and you get 12 months of energy savings on your bill. That could be $300 or $400 a month. The reason it's 18 months is it gives you the time to file your tax credits. Because you don't get it right away. If you install the system today, right now, you will file these tax credits next year for next year's. So we give you 18 months to roll that over. People that installed last year are now filing their taxes and getting their tax credit in April. They're going to get that tax credit. They're going to go back to the bank and pay down as much of that loan as possible, up to 65% of it. Once that's paid off, now the loan turns into a standard fixed rate. I think it's currently 7.99, I believe. That payment is less than what your electric bill was when you first started. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're not paying $400 on electric bill anymore. You're paying, after you put the tax credits, $150 loan, and the rest continues your upside the entire way and it pays itself off. That's why solar is so popular in Hawaii. It's phenomenal. I think the last couple slides here, this one's interesting. Just because we've been in it for long enough, this was actually, we started our business before that, but I had this slide from the State Energy Office. This is the cost of electricity since 2011. Trending. We all know that. This was the price as the new programs were coming out up till today's new smart DER tariff, which is the latest one. Here's the price of solar. Installation cost of solar over that same time has gone down almost 50%. The cost of systems installed today are roughly 50% that was installed back 10, 15 years ago. But there is a component, which is the additional cost of the batteries. Batteries weren't needed when net metering was around because you got credit either way bidirectionally, but now people want resiliency, they want savings, so there is an additional cost to the battery. Here's the cool part. Even with the additional cost of the battery on top of the lower cost of solar, it's still lower than what PV was alone back in the day. And you think about the system now. High wattage panels, high wattage inverters, a battery backup system, full home energy monitoring because you have a battery and you have to watch all that. The value of the systems has increased, still less cost than what it was solar only. It's pretty phenomenal. So, the big mess of stuff we have to do. This is what a solar contractor should do for everyone looking at solar. These are all the steps that have to happen to get a proper solar system installed on a home. It looks like a lot. It looks confusing. We're talking homeowners associations, site inspections, DPP permits, Hawaiian Electric interconnection, validations after the installations, closing the permits, blah, blah, blah. Here's what we ask you. For an electric bill, a free visit, we'll take some photos, and then you just wait to have a happy home at the end. We'll do everything in between. That's what solar contractors are doing. All of those steps have to happen. We try to make it as easy as possible. A copy electric bill, a free proposal, we'll do a site inspection and do everything in between and get that installed and get tax credits. Mahalo. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, feel free. I'll be coming up right over here. It's probably going to be a little difficult to hear them all over here, but come up and or over at our booth, right where it says aisle 500 over there. We have more than enough people over there, and we appreciate any questions. Feel free, come on up. Thank you so much.